Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Morning. So welcome everybody. Today we will speak about the analysis of disruptions in the low carbon energy and intensive industries ecosystem. We have a very short reference about what is this ecosystem. Here in the notes is the description speaks about extraction of fossil fuel, refining, manufacturing of products with high environmental impact, plastics, chemicals, fertilizers, iron and steel, sorry. So it's quite wide as far as I understand, okay. We have today with us, I hope, two representatives from two French clusters, Acelera and Paul Avenia. Welcome. I suppose that Emmanuel is with us. Not yet. I don't know. And Jennifer, are you with us? Since not yet. Okay. We will wait for some minutes. For those of you that are new, okay, the main proposal for today's session, and during these last days, it has been the same, is to identify with precision some disruptions in the different industrial ecosystem that we are studying. Okay, and those disruptions, if possible, should be defined following at least the list that you are seeing in your screen. Okay, this will be the first block or the second block. Sorry, after the presentation of the different speakers. And if possible, we should look also for solutions if there are proposals on that side, okay? Okay, Jennifer, welcome, bonjour. Are you there? Can you speak, Jennifer? Jen?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay,
welcome.
Thank you very much, Antonio.
So, you will speak about Acelera and what you have been doing. Should I give you the presentation rights?
I sent the presentation yesterday. If you prefer to project it, that would be fine.
Okay. So I will open your presentation. No problem at all. Let me just 1 second.
Otherwise, I have it open if you prefer.
If you have it, perhaps it's better because you will be able to go through the presentation through the slides as you prefer. No problem at all. But I am sharing just now your presentation. Okay, it's here.
Okay.
And sorry, I have two presentations at the same time, and that's not good. Sorry, just 1 moment. I will never understand here. So,
Okay.
this is the first slide.
Okay, so thank you once again. Here at Accelera, we are the cluster for basically our aim is to help the chemical and process industries to transform towards circular and low carbon, non-polluting industries. And we do this with our members from the chemical and process industries. And we work closely with them to help them to de-risk disruptive technologies, disruptive green technologies, develop them and adopt them. And so we're located in the Rhône-Alpes region of France, which is the second most industrial region in France and the sixth in Europe. We have many industries that make various chemicals, metals, plastics, ceramics, paper, and other materials. And also, of course, we have all of the water treatment companies as well that fall into the process industries, waste management companies. Air pollution is also a process-based industry. Let's say depollution of air and monitoring of air pollution. So we have 367 members. And they work all along the value chain. So we have the large and small companies who are making materials, including secondary raw materials from end-of-life products and from waste streams. And we also have the equipment manufacturers, the system manufacturers. We have the system integrators, integrating the systems into a factory, the process engineers, those working on energy and resource efficiency to recover, for example, lost waste heat from industrial to reuse it. Regulatory compliance is also covered by our members. Like I said, recycling and reuse and water, air, and soil depollution. We also have members working on renewable raw materials and hydrogen. And of course, these challenging problems of transforming industry cannot be solved without digital tools. So we also focus, we give a proper focus on the use of digital tools as well. So you can go to the next slide, Antonio. Thank you. So the role of our network is, among others, to facilitate partnerships between our members. So during the COVID crisis, for example, we reinforced this aspect in order to help fix broken links in the value chains. For example, we had some of our members who produce cosmetics. They were no longer able to find plastic bottles for their cosmetics because all of the plastic bottles were being used to make, for example, hand sanitizer for the COVID crisis. So we would publish within our network calls for solutions to help our members to find new suppliers, either for molecules or for tools or materials. And we also created a one-stop shop gathering information about all of the support systems that were put in place in France at the national level and also at the regional and municipal levels. So that the companies, and especially the small companies, it would be easier for them to benefit from the many different support services put in place more quickly and more easily. We also work directly with the region to help earn funding for our companies, especially our small companies, to help them pay for subcontracting services that were not foreseen before the crisis, but that were needed and will be needed during the recovery. For example, with the borders being closed, and also perhaps also the psychological repercussions of the COVID virus, some of our companies are afraid that exporting their products will become more difficult in the future, especially in certain countries that were already a bit patriotic before and were a bit closed to exporting, but which are large markets. And so their goal is to hire local commercial partners as subcontractors to help develop or ensure these strategic export markets. And we are also working with banks to help them to design new funding schemes that will meet the new needs that we have observed from our members. So we sent out a poll to our members, and many of them replied, and we asked them how the situation is affecting them and what their new needs are given this situation. And we're using the results of this poll to help go to the banks and to the region and explain what the needs are and help them to intelligently set up the support systems that they already plan to set up. Some companies right now are not prioritizing innovation because they are in a crisis mode. And so we are helping support them for those who are focusing on innovation. Some companies, on the contrary, are focusing on innovation even more than usual because their business is maybe on hold. And so in both cases, we think that clusters can play an important role in helping the companies to, for example, diagnose their projects, decide which projects are most likely to get exterior funding, and design a strategy for how to optimize the external funding of innovation projects for our members. So I think that was my last slide. Is that true?
Yes, I think so. Excellent,
Okay.
excellent presentation, Jen.
Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you very much. We will continue the dialogue with you soon. But now is the turn for, Emmanuel Robbins. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Hello.
You there?
Yes,
Okay.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Would you like to present, or should I use your presentation?
I have just one slide.
Okay, so I will open it. Okay, no problem at all. That I have it here. Did you send it to me? Sorry, because I
no, because you said you could give me the hand.
So sorry, I will give you the presentation, right? Sorry. Yours. Can you share your screen now?
Not quite yet. Il faut faire vraiment très doucement.
If not, you can send it to me by email and start speaking if you want. Okay. I will share it as soon as I.
Okay. I can. Okay. Can you see my screen or not yet?
Yes, we can see it. No, perfect. Yes, if you just present.
Okay, so just wanted to introduce briefly the Pôle Avenia. So we are a pôle de compétitivité. It's a label given in French under a law. A label since 2010. We are focused on the subsurface energy transition, and what we really want to do is to optimize the subsurface resources, reduce the impact on climate, contribute to the low carbon economy in the energy mix, and also boost the acceptability and to protect the environment. So for that, we try the market that we have and that we want to address are historically the upstream oil and gas, the deep geothermal energy, the geological storage, and lately we introduced the mining and quarrying, hydrogeology, and the geotechnical services. For all this, we want to promote the innovation as a collaborative project, and we try to structure and integrate the whole subsurface sector in order to promote the ecosystem that we have around us, and that we extended to the national area and also European area to support the SMEs development. And we now want to address all the international markets. So that's the purpose of the Polavenia. And what we have done lately with the COVID crisis is we conducted a survey on our members and the impact that this crisis would have on them. So what I forgot to say is that we have more than 210 members. And the survey that we did was on a limited number, but still it was a quite representative pooling of them regarding the type of structures and the potential markets that we addressed. And we noticed that, well, of course, 90% of them say they were impacted by the COVID, but most of that, on the top of that, 60% of our members were impacted by the drop of the price of the oil. And what is really noticeable is that it's a worldwide crisis, and the oil and gas market is also something which is worldwide. And that's the main issue for our members, is that we are talking about worldwide crisis. And I mentioned the oil and gas industries, but also the geothermal industry. They are, most of the time, they are common access because they address the same services like geological surveys, the drilling or the maintenance as well. So most of the projects are currently in standby, and the activities are delayed, sometimes postponed. And the main issues are the financial issues, but most of that is the logistic issues, because people have minimal connection between countries, and that applies to people, of course, and also to equipment. So the members, the SMEs, or cannot move the equipment to other countries outside their own country, as France for us, and or to international markets. So what we've done is we've tried to force, or maybe not to force, but to encourage the business-to-business meetings, and we're organizing currently a virtual B2B meeting on June the 9th, focused on innovation, because we believe innovation, collaborative innovation, will be the future for all our members. And the things I mentioned for internationalization is another good example is a project that we conducted called Geoenergy Europe, aiming at the internationalization of European SMEs. It's cosmic project, competitiveness of the SME in Europe, and this is something that is really impacting all our members with the crisis. Is really the fact that people and equipment cannot travel anymore. And that's it for me.
That's Perfect. Thank you, Emmanuel. So, two very clear pictures of what is happening into specialized clusters on the topic of today. I will remember for those of you that have arrived a little late that the focus for our sessions today and the next days is identify with precision the possible disruptions on every industrial ecosystems, and today we are speaking about low carbon energy and intensive industries. So you have spoke about some of those disruptions. Just now, for example, the problems with the movement of machinery between countries. Okay, could we go deeper on that? Could we list with some precision those disruptions? And first, the most important one, what are the more important for your members? What kind of difficulties are really important for them at this moment? Who could speak about that?
Okay, Emmanuel speaking again. I think for our members at the moment really is the fact that there is a great lack of cash. The financial impact is huge for most of our members, as I said, because of the COVID crisis as well as the oil crisis. So that's the main issue. And as Jennifer was saying, there's a lot of people that need some support on the financial aspects. So it's really something that we want to focus on, is the help with the banks and etc. or governmental financial aid. So that's the first topic. And the second topic is really the fact that production or prospection cannot be done by our members, and which is the core business, really.
Okay. Any other? Because about money, we know that this is a big topic. Okay, we should look for those information that are not so evident, not so clear. Okay, but can be important for them. But thank you, Jennifer. Patrick, you are also very welcome. Okay, from Plastipolis, we will have a session on plastics next Friday. But plastics is also part of the topic for today. Will you comment, Patrick?
Oh, thank you. Yes, good morning.
Bonjour, yes. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for the point. And I think, yes, what has been said is very, let's say, consistent with all what we have shared the last weeks. And our experience is very, very similar. And as said by my colleague from Accelera, it's clear we have to work on all across the value chain. And we had to consider to let's say this link between the different stakeholders, equipment, let's say material producers, equipment OEM, as well as end users. So this is really what we have been working on the plastic side, especially in the current time where we have shortage of let's say resources and unavailability of materials for some critical part of the value chain. So this is still ahead of us to deal with this situation, especially when we will at the time being where we have to deal with let's say a recovery of the economy and ramp up of let's say new way of organization between the company and so this is still a point ahead of us, I think.
I think another risk, sorry, this is Jennifer. Another risk I think is that companies who were planning the green transition, but who are very conservative and therefore cannot make changes to their processes unless they can predict what the impact of those changes will be on business and on production. Now, all of the uncertainty is even worse. And so I think one solution might be to develop digital tools that help understand the complexity of a new situation so that we can move forward and, for example, adopt greener processes in this period of uncertainty. Otherwise, perhaps this could slow the green transition quite a bit.
Which kind of uncertainties do you refer to?
Like economic uncertainties linked to COVID and value chain uncertainties.
You mean about how to get the raw materials, for example?
Yes.
Okay.
Because yes.
Because I understand the problem is that the raw materials are outside France in this case, or but do you have a map of where are they? If they are in Europe or outside Europe, do you know that kind of information? Have you analyzed that?
Well, I think each sector can do this kind of analysis for their sector. And also regions analyze the material flows within their regions, some of them. But this is not the role of our cluster.
But that will reduce the problem, no? If we will be able to, in any way, guarantee the flow of raw materials between European countries, for example, or not?
Maybe Antonio, I just can comment. So just a few words. Yes, we have to let's say map the situation in terms of availability and the sourcing of material. It's clear on two sides. Current time where we have to deal with specific equipment, specific needs for emergency purpose, and preparation of the next steps. And border will reopen fully, but the model will change. So what we did from our side for plastic is to review, let's say at short term and maybe at mid term, this availability of supply. And we did it also with our Portuguese colleague regarding equipment. As you know, for industry, material is one critical item, but you have also equipment like tools and others. And we are working within this manufacturer platform with a tooling platform with especially a colleague from Portugal, how to rethink or let's say the supply chain for this for the next phase of the recovery of industry.
That's very, very important.
I think the sorry, it's Emmanuel again. I think the this crisis gave the opportunity, so to say, to change the scope of risk analysis for businesses. I think it's we need to take it as a chance to review the risk of the supply chain and also the end businesses, because for example the plastic industries, I think the raw materials are more than critical, especially if they are delocated, the manufacturing is delocated. For us, it's more the downstream. It will be the opportunity to how to work and go for businesses outside our own country or even more
Export.
on the international market.
How to export.
So to export or to work, actually work, because for the for geothermal industries or oil and gas or etc., you need to do some exploration activities, or there's the production activities, but mostly the exploration activities where you have all the drone industries or the survey industries, or if you want, you need to really be on the ground to investigate and to do the work. And going outside your own country is difficult, so you don't have the possibility to do your own business.
Thank you. Thank you. More comments from other people, because we have here a long list of experts. We want to hear your experiences from other regions. Lars.
Yes, hello. My name is Lars Hingberg, representing a cluster in Sweden. We are called Triple Steelix, working in the area of steel and metals industry. And I can agree with a lot of what has been said already in this conference. What we can see regarding the COVID disruptions, of course, we are to different degree very much hit by that. In many cases due to the broken supply chains. One important area for steel and metals is of course automotive, and those have been more or less closed down for some time, even though they are ramping up now again. But that of course causes a lot of disruptions in the value chains, and some of the smaller companies are also very suffering from the lack of cash and so on. In our case, we are focusing already before the COVID outbreak. There was a lot of projects going on in the steel and metals industry, not just in Sweden, but all over Europe to look for greener solutions. And some of those projects are quite ambitious, primarily focusing on removing CO2 from emissions from the steel making process. What we have seen in the discussions is regarding the green transition might even be boosted by the COVID outbreak, because people now see opportunities where we can implement new technology even faster than what was thought. So there are some opportunities also here. Of course, working in steel and metals, we cover very broad fields. So depending on what end use we are looking at, there is more or less crisis or opportunities if you look at it from different angles.
Perfect, thank you. Do you have any problem of raw materials, or do you have anything that are blocking your capacity to return to the normal processes?
Well, if you look at raw materials for the steel industry, in a sense, steel industry and metals industry are already more or less circular economy, even though the circle is rather big, going from end use back to the melting furnaces. So there is ample. It's not a big problem with the main raw material for the steel industry, because we also have in Sweden quite a lot of mining operations inside the country. So I think even though it can be for certain elements, of course, a problem where we import certain critical raw materials, even from maybe China or other parts outside of Europe. So it can be in certain cases quite difficult. But I would say in downstream in the value chain, it might be even bigger problem, because for automotive industry, of course, there are a lot of on the component level imports and the disturbances in that sense.
So sorry, I missed something. Do you already have some a whole value chain, not value chain, the supply chain, supply chain on the critical mineral, critical metals?
If you look at iron, that's no problem in Sweden. But of course, if you look at other special alloys, for instance, alloying elements, some let's say very rare elements are imported even from outside of Europe. So in that case, of course, there are clear disturbances now.
What about copper or something like this?
Excuse me?
What about copper, for example?
Copper is quite no problem in Sweden. We have own mining.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And do you foresee a serious problem in one of those rare metals?
Maybe not in the long term, but of course, as of today, some of the supply chains are broken, and there has been at least delays. And now, of course, it seems that the systems are coming back on track again. So I think the concern is now maybe even more towards the future and what kind of habits that the markets and people will take. Do we need 2 cars per family or a car at all or something like that? You know, do we need an office because we are now used to working like this?
Yeah, that's very good questions. Thank you very much. Other comments, other perspectives from other countries?
Yes, Nicolas Gontier from Paula Peña. I would like to focus on CCUS, which is carbon capture and use and storage. Today, the cost is very high for its deployment, and the most important part of its cost is due to the capture. So we really need to innovate, to create more efficient technique in order to decrease the cost of capture. Moreover, those capture technique require a lot of energy. So in consequence, we release an important additional CO2 in the atmosphere. So that's another issue. About the transport of gas, the main issue is the lack of infrastructure, and so we need to invest. The technique is not an issue here, but we really need to invest in a huge framework in Europe for the transport. So it can be pipe, truck, boat, and so on. In terms of storage, the main issue here is not a technical point, but the social acceptability, like in other geoscience, I would say geoscience aspect. I mean geothermal, oil and gas. That's always there is always a social acceptability issue. And then about the use, we could the reuse of CO2. We could imagine to reuse the CO2, but today it really seems to be correspond to a very low volume compared to the need of storage. So it can be done, but it will not answer to the question of CO2 in the atmosphere. That's it for me about this industry sector.
Thank you. Thank you. Having an increase of needs or opportunity on those for activities during the crisis, or it was something that was before and now it's similar, the need?
The need today.
For the capturing, for example, carbon.
Capture today we have a cost for the CO2, which is about 25%. We estimate the cost for CO2 to be 100 sorry, 25 euro. So we estimate the cost to be 100 euro for some sorry. In order to have something missed my word. And the part of the captures is about 80% of the cost of the project. So I don't know, Emmanuel, if you can, if you want to add some word.
No, what I can say is I think with the lockdown during the crisis, a lot of people realized the actual production of CO2 in the atmosphere. So I don't know if the need for carbon captures is increasing or not. I think it's the same. But as Nicola was mentioning just earlier, is that the people acceptability of this project will be much more well perceived and welcome because of the actual the people realize that the CO2 is a real problem. You probably heard in the press that a lot of people made some very nice photos about the pollutions not being there, or the nature developing brilliantly, and etc. So I think the social acceptance and the project will be much more welcome. So it was a good. It's a good time to promote this kind of project. The price and the price is the same, and the production will be, I think, maybe more pretty much back to normal, but the acceptance of this kind of project would be much better.
Yeah, the awareness has increased.
Awareness,
You very
exactly.
much. Thank you very much. Other comments from other perspective, please. We have here, I see that we have here AFP from Oroit. Would you comment? No? Okay. So returning to the disruptions, we have been speaking about plastics during the past weeks, and as I said, we will have a specific session on that next Friday. But I want to take the opportunity to ask Patrick, do you have problems with the sourcing of some kind of plastics, or the problems in the processing, or where would you situate the problems, your value chains or supply chains? Sorry.
Yes, today the situation is very critical for plastic like polycarbonate or PMMA for specific protection devices, and this the shortage for this, and the point is to discuss alternative, and we have ongoing with some company process regarding PE or some other kind of plastic to complement the supply. But as I said, the next step will be also to prepare the restart of the industry and rebuild the value chain. I think we have, considering also the circular economy the challenge to rework the supply and including end of life and recycling, because considering material and plastic material, of course, there has been a lot of focus on this material in the last months and years, considering recycling and sustainability. So we have to keep it in mind, and it's really a main challenge for our industry today to deal with this new the rebuilding of this value chain and be more, let's say, relevant and more ambitious in terms of sustainability. And that's why we want to include this and to take benefit of the recycling industry to more than before to be a material supplier.
Perfect. Perfect. Your participation in the next session on plastic will be critical. In fact, you are invited to be part of the expert group. Okay, everyone that is interested. But this topic is very clearly one disruption. At least for me, that we have detected the problem in as for now in 5-6 different countries. It's clear that there is a disruption on that value chain, and that there are big opportunities to change, also to improve the value chains. So thank you. I see that there is here Roberto Roca from Polimi. Would you share? Roberto, would you speak with us?
Yes, good morning at all. I'm Roberto Rocca from Politecnico di Milano, and unfortunately I have not your experiences with cluster and companies since I'm from academic side. I deal with different kind of research topic related to sustainability. In particular, I'm working on the circular economy topic, and we have a lot of experience with the research project that involve a circular economy with company. In particular, supply chain related to the recovery of metal that are embedded in electronic products. And we see that there is a lot of interest in order to recover the valuable metal that are embedded in the printed circuit board of a smartphone, tablet, personal computer, and so on. And we see that there is a very big need to boost this kind of sustainability research topic from a circular economy point of view from the Industry 4.0 paradigm, in the sense that the digitalization of company can boost the sustainability degrees of different kind of processes. In particular, we are working on the disassembly process in order to recover the metal, the precious metal that are embedded in the electronic smartphone. And we see that the potential and the potentiality of digital and high-tech technologies can boost companies in order to adopt more sustainable processes and more sustainable strategies in order to recover the valuable metal. And so we see that in this kind of supply chain, there is a lot of interest from companies and a lot of potential benefits from the support of digital technologies.
Are you aware of any current problem of those kind of metals in Europe? Are you aware of?
Quite frankly, not very well. I'm not very aware in this sense, since we deal in particular with the interaction from the digital perspective to boost sustainability. So I'm not a very expert to the state of the art of the critical situation or to the availability of some of these metals.
Thank you very much, Roberto.
Maybe this is Lars where I can comment on that. Of course, if you look into the green transition, we are looking also for electrification, and there are a lot of efforts now to start own production of lithium-ion batteries in Europe and also in Sweden. So in that sense, of course, lithium is one of those elements that are not very much mined within Europe. So we are depending on imports, and furthermore, there are also some other critical elements used in that industry, like rare earth metals that are in certain parts of the world mined in a little bit not so good way from a sustainability point of view. So there are of course big questions on how we can solve this better in the future.
Yeah, because we are speaking also about the electric cars, I suppose, no?
Yes, yes.
This is where I was coming from when I was asking the question about the mining in Sweden about copper or things like this, and rare metals, because this is something that we currently address very much at a high level with the new activity that we are developing with mining and quarrying, and the technical expert that we have in house is really keen on this kind of issue regarding the supply chain on this kind of rare metal.
That's a very interesting point, because at this moment it's not a big problem, but it could be in 10 years. If we will have the level of electric cars in the global market that we want to have in 10 years, it could be a very big problem, or not. What do you
Antonio,
think?
may I have a question?
Marek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Marek Shor, Cluster Policy. When I watched the presentation from Accelera, something that was very interesting for me was they've noticed fixing broken links in value chain, and then the action was calls for solutions. So if Accelera can say something more about this calls for expression of solutions, and if there was you have received many responses, and did other clusters, representatives of the clusters who are here, did something like this as well? So it would be interesting to know what is the signals from the markets. Thanks. So the question is to Accelera, what was the response from this calls for solutions?
Yeah. Jennifer, Jen, are you there? Could you comment? Jennifer is not here, so she left. Sorry, Marek. I see that Jennifer is not here with us.
Has anyone else did something similar, like this call for solutions in broken links in value chains?
We have a presentation, but Horst is not with us today, but he has just sent me a presentation, and he will be invited, Horst, from the cluster Biomed, Biotech Cluster Development, and we will share it another day, okay? It did just exactly that, we have the answers from the members, okay? But we will comment another day, okay, with him. Is there anyone that could answer, Marek, with your reference?
Antonio, yes, I answer in this. In Italy, we have experience in this call for proposal in this period of time in the medical field. So looking for health solutions for the coronavirus. So specifically dedicated in the supply chain of other manufacturing value chain. No, right now in this moment, for this period of time, I don't see any other experience. But I can say that, for example, PolyHub, the incubator of Politecnico di Milano, is working since a lot of years in this with this approach, facing challenges and defining priority also for developing advanced technologies and new materials and other issues. So I think that they are moving in that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see that we have Lucia from Materialia here. Lucia, will you? I think that you made a kind of action on that area, no? Lucia, sorry.
Hello. Yes. So basically, we did identify a problem on the value chain for basically related to Meltdown. Because in France, actually before the crisis, there was only one enterprise which was producing Meltdown, so the material to produce masks. And now basically the government is trying to encourage enterprises to change their production lines, so in order to produce, so to develop Meltdown, but it's complicated because the machines basically that they use, they are so normally brought from China, and they also represent a big investment that SMEs cannot afford. So I think this is really a problem that we're going to have in the long term as well, because basically even if they encourage companies to start to invest and produce face masks, basically in the long run, I mean in the long term, they need something else to, because this is going to be temporary, it's not going to last for such a long time. So this is a disruption that we identified, and so we're trying to well, we have identified basically the companies which produced Meltdown, the companies in our region that could maybe potentially produce it, and we're also trying to see with the experts, so academia, to try to see if there's what kind of alternative could be. There's like cardage, electroalliage, several possible alternatives, but there's also only, I think, 3 like laboratories that are specialized on this kind of textiles in France, so it's kind of complicated.
Lucia, have you looked in the rest of Europe?
Yeah, we're gonna focus. So for the time being, we're focusing on in our region, but we also thought we're gonna have a look in Germany, since, well, it's next to us. But basically, this was also because basically we had some companies, they wanted to come to a region, so in order to install so to produce masks, but basically they were lacking of materials. So this is actually why. But they wanted to have the raw materials, so I mean kind of close, to the line. But since we are close to Germany also, we thought, well, we can have a look at the other side of the border. That's something that we usually do not do, and I think that this is something that we also need to like try to encourage right now.
Lucia, it will be wonderful if you could send us, if we could speak deeper on that question, because it's a very interesting analysis, and it will be interesting to better understand, okay, to analyze it as the disruption model that we were sharing. I will share again here, okay. If we could describe that disruption following this model. If you don't mind, we will be we will write to you, and
Yeah,
can we speak?
for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, I see a message from AFV in the Basque Country. Can you try now to speak? AFV? We have had some problems with the supply chains because the stoppage of some suppliers as cluster organization. A good practice we have made is that we have managed a joint purchase of PPEs like masks or gloves for all the associated foundries. The automotive sector in Spain has been stopped for weeks. Now we are trying to identify foundry sector needs and economic and social, organizational, etc., in order to act quickly and jointly against COVID. Thank you. Okay, we will stay in contact also if you don't mind. Okay. Any last comment because it's 9:30?
Antonio, I would see the collaboration of Emmanuel and Jennifer here as a very, very interesting solution. We are analyzing disruptions not because we like disruptions, because we need solutions. And while looking for solutions, we need to think green. And these are very good ways to solve questions on a new way, not on an old type of solutions. So I think they are the people, at least in here, that know and can help on getting good solutions for future ways of producing energy.
Perfect. Thank you.
Antonio, I would like to say that I totally agree with what Aurora says, that now more than ever, it's a good moment to share good practice and best practice in this transition, so more greener technologies and implementation. So all the investments that companies are making can be moving in that direction.
And I totally agree with the idea that the nature is showing us what can be if we are a little kinder with her, okay? Because it's totally that the awareness of how green is everything, how clean is the air in the city, how better is our life. It's wonderful, at least for me. So I totally agree that we need to take advantage of that increased awareness. Yeah. So we will continue speaking about this. Okay, those of you that are working on plastic, you are invited to, you are invited to every session. Okay, but especially for next Friday, we will speak about that. Okay, we are planning to send you a survey soon, just to better identify those disruptions and if possible to act on them, so you will be able to suggest also solutions. And you have in the screen, sorry, I didn't share it. I don't know when I stopped sharing. You have in the screen the post in the ECCP forum where you are invited to continue with the dialogue and the sharing of information. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. As you know, tomorrow we will speak about the clean house with Annalisa Tesarolo. All the things related to the medical devices crisis. Okay, and on Thursday we will speak about e-health. So you are invited, but also if you know experts that could add could contribute to the discussion, please send them the invitation, forward it, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.